Mahakassapa was born in the country of Magadha to a Brahmin named Kapila and his wife Sumana Devi. They named him Pipali. Their family name was Kassapa. His father owned 16 villages, over which he ruled like a petty king, so Pipali grew up amidst wealth and luxury. However, when playing with the other children, Pipali often felt bored and out of place. Pipali hated being fussed over and did not enjoy being pampered. He often wandered off to be alone in the forest. There, he enjoyed solitude and serenity. Something about the forest and being alone felt like home to him. He often felt bored and disinterested when playing with other children. Something inside him longed to just leave everything behind. When he came of age, his father and mother urged him to take a wife. However, Pipali absolutely refused. "Father, mother, I do not need a wife. I can look after myself. As long as I am alive, you do not have to worry, for I will take care of you. However, after your death, I wish to become an ascetic and leave this worldly life." His father and mother did not give up and continued to bring suitable women for Pipali to consider. Pipali did not even entertain the thought or give any attention to any of the women. Finally, wishing to put a stop to his parents' incessant efforts, Pipali said, "Father, mother, I will get married on one condition. The woman must conform to my idea of perfection." Pipali commissioned a golden statue of a woman. He demanded that the sculptor be painstakingly detailed and precise, asking the sculptor to make the statue absolutely perfect. He had it be decked with fine garments and ornaments and showed it to his parents. "Father, mother, if you can find a woman like this for me, I shall remain a householder and marry her." His father and mother elatedly approached 8 Brahmins, asking them to take this image with them and travel around to search for a woman who exactly matched or surpassed this likeness. The Brahmins took the statue to many large and populous cities, but were unable to find any women who even came close to matching the likeness of the statue. After much disappointment, the Brahmins decided to go to Mara country, which was known for having beautiful women. In Mara, there was a young woman from a rich family whose beauty was beyond comparison, named Bada Kapilani. One day, Bada went out for a walk with her servant, and they got separated in the crowd. Her servant started looking for Bada, and happened to walk by the golden statue. She mistakenly thought the statue was Bada, and while grabbing its hand, said, "Mistress, I told you to stay close to me. See, you got lost. Let's go home." The Brahmins who had placed the statue in the middle of the market saw this and said, "That woman seems to think our statue is someone she knows. Our quest might be at an end." The Brahmins went up to the confused servant and asked her, "Lady, do you know someone who looks like this statue?" "Statue? Oh, it's a statue. I thought it was my young mistress. It looks just like her." "Is your mistress as beautiful as this statue? Does she come from a noble family?" "Oh no, my mistress is far more beautiful than this statue. As for family, she comes from the influential Kosya Kota family. Please, take us to see her." Her parents agreed to the marriage proposal, and the Brahmins returned to inform Kapila and Sumana Devi of their success. However, unbeknownst to all, Bada Kapilani also did not want to marry. In fact, she also wanted to live the life of an ascetic. When Pipali heard that a woman who surpassed the golden statue's beauty had been found, he was not happy, but devastated. He had believed it impossible and hoped that he would never have to marry. When Bada found out she was arranged to marry Pipali, she was also devastated. Both Pipali and Bada prepared a letter. Dear Bada, I hope this finds you well. I find that I have no choice but to write you this letter. My parents have forced me into marrying you, but through no fault of yours, I do not wish to marry anyone. I ask that you go and find someone else to marry with equal status and live a happy life with him. As for myself, I have plans to become an ascetic. I truly wish you the best. Dear Pipali, I hope this letter finds you well. I find that I have no choice but to write you this letter. My parents have forced me into marrying you, but through no fault of yours, I do not wish to marry anyone. I ask that you go and find someone else to marry with equal status and live a happy life with her. As for myself, I have plans to become an ascetic. I truly wish you the best. They both sealed their letters and ordered their servant to hand-deliver them. Unfortunately for both, the two servants crossed paths in the middle of the night. The two servants ended up resting at the same place, and upon further discussion, realized they were on the same mission. They opened the letters and decided unilaterally that they would rewrite the rejection letters into love letters. Thus, Bada was taken to Magadha, and the young couple was reluctantly married. However, both had ascetic yearnings. That night, when couples usually consummate the marriage, both Pipali and Bada expressed their resolve. Bada, this marriage was not my idea. I only gave my consent out of respect for my parents. I wish to live an ascetic's life. I request that you respect my wishes to live a life of celibacy. Pipali, my husband, this marriage was not due to my desires. I only gave my consent out of respect for my parents. I also wish to live an ascetic's life. I request that you respect my wishes to live a life of celibacy. They were both happy to find out they felt the same. They placed fresh garlands of flowers down the middle of their bed, thinking, if we wake up and the flowers are squashed, then that means the other party has a lustful mind. Thus, both were determined to not yield to sensual desire. The young wealthy couple lived happily and in comfort for many years. As long as Pipali's parents lived, they did not have to work or look after the estate's many farms. But when his parents died, Pipali took charge of the large property. One day, when Pipali was inspecting the fields, he noticed something he had seen many times before. He observed that when his employees plowed the dirt, many birds gathered and ate the worms that were uncovered. In the past, when his parents looked after the estate, Pipali had noticed this, but it did not bother him. However, now that he was the owner, it struck him forcefully. He realized that his wealth was bound up with the suffering of other living beings. His livelihood was purchased with the death of so many worms and other little creatures living in the soil. Thinking about this, he asked his field manager, "Hey, who will have to bear the karmic consequences for the deaths of all these creatures? Who will this fall on?" "You, sir." Pipali was greatly shaken by this revelation and realization. He went home and reflected. What good is this wealth if it comes along with the burden of guilt and eventual bad karma? This comfort and wealth is only temporary, but the suffering I will have to endure will last a long time. How many hells will I be reborn into? How many more extra lives will I have to live as an animal to repay this debt? It would be best for me to give it all to Bada and go become an ascetic. While he was thinking that, Bada, on the other side of the property, was experiencing something similar. Earlier in the day, she saw something she had seen many times before, but now with a deeper understanding. Seeds had been spread out in the open to dry, and she noticed many birds eating the insects that were attracted by the seeds. Thinking about this, she asked her servant, "Hey, who will have to bear the karmic consequences for the deaths of all these creatures? Who will this fall on?" "You, mistress." Bada was greatly shaken by this revelation and realization. She went home and reflected. If even just by working to make a living, I'm committing this much evil karma, I will continuously be reborn in this ocean of rebirth. When will I ever be able to lift my head above the water if it is weighed down by so much past evil karma? Even in 1,000 lives, I would never be free. Each life I am born into, I will have to age, get sick, and eventually die. I will have to go through the suffering of life in each birth. As soon as Pipali returns, I shall hand over everything to him and leave and take up the life of an ascetic. And so they both found each other. Each was holding a clay bowl and a pale cloth. After they expressed their intentions, they both decided to abandon their worldly belongings and become ascetics. They shaved each other's heads and proclaimed, "Wherever there are arahants in this world, we will dedicate our ordination to them." They carried their alms bowls, and they left the manor wearing their old robes. Pipali walked ahead, while Bada followed behind him. Bada Kapilani is a woman of great beauty. If she follows close behind me, people can easily think. They say they were ascetics, but they still can't live without each other. It's unseemly. If those people think in such a manner, they will be creating bad karma for themselves. It would be better for us to separate. When they reached a crossroads, Pipali turned to Bada and said, "Bada, you take one of these roads. I will take the other." Bada did not take his words personally. Instead, she contemplated his point. Being a wise woman, she realized, it is true that for ascetics, a woman is an obstacle. People seeing us together might think and speak badly of us. So please go your own way, and we shall part. Bada then circumambulated him 3 times, saluted him from the 4 main directions, and bowed at his feet. With folded hands, she said, "Our close companionship and friendship that has spanned incalculable periods comes to end today. Please take the path to the right, and I will take the path to the left." They parted, both seeking their own paths to becoming arahants. The earth, shaken by the power of their fortitude, dedication, and virtue, quaked and trembled. The Buddha observed that the earth shook. He used his supernormal abilities to discern that two great beings had made a virtuous act of renunciation. The Buddha knew that Kassapa was on his way. In his infinite compassion, he set out on the road himself, walking the distance of 5 miles to meet his future disciple. On the road between Rajagaha and Nalanda, the Buddha sat down under a tree, waiting for the arrival of Pipali. When Pipali arrived and saw the aura and the radiance of the Buddha, he knew that he had found his teacher. Pipali approached the Buddha and paid homage. "You, Exalted One, Lord, are my teacher, and I am your disciple. I wish to ordain in your religion." "Kassapa, sit down. I shall give you your heritage." In lieu of traditional ordination, the Buddha then taught him 3 things. You must train yourself to always have hiri ottappa. You must maintain a keen sense of shame and fear of wrongdoing. This must be present in you towards seniors, novices, and those of middle status in the Sangha. What teaching you hear that is conducive to something wholesome, you shall listen with an attentive ear, examining it, reflecting upon it, considering it, and absorbing it into your heart. You should not neglect mindfulness of the body, linked with gladness. This is how you should train yourself. The master and disciple then began to walk towards Rajagaha. On the way, the Buddha rested at the foot of a tree on the side of the road. Kassapa then folded his double robe 4-fold and requested that the Buddha sit on it. Kassapa knew that this action would bring him much benefit for a long time. The Buddha then sat on Kassapa's robe, assisting Kassapa in making great merit. Your patched cloth is soft, Kassapa. Upon hearing this, Kassapa saw his opportunity to make further merit and said, May the Blessed One, my lord, accept this robe of patched cloth out of compassion for me. Kassapa, if I accept your robes, would you be able to wear these worn-out rag robes of mine? Kassapa, feeling like his heart would explode at this unexpected but welcome turn of events, said, My lord, I can certainly wear your rough and worn-out rag robes. And so, the Buddha and Kassapa exchanged shoulder robes. This would be the only time in his life that the Buddha exchanged robes with anyone. After that, Kassapa dedicated himself to intense practice. He only resided in the forest. He ate alms food as was available. He contemplated impermanence, suffering, and the concept of not self. Then, on the 8th day of his continuous practice, he attained the goal he was striving for, reaching full liberation from rebirth and suffering, and became an Arahant. A long time ago, during the dispensation of the Parumuttara Buddha, Maha Kassapa was born as a Brahmin named Vedeha. Vedeha was very rich and had over 80 crores worth of money and property. One day, Wedeha, after waking up and eating breakfast, decided to observe the Uposatha Sila. He prepared flowers and perfumed offerings and went to visit the Buddha at the temple. There, he observed the Buddha pointing at the third Bhikkhu in line, Mahanisapa, and appointing him as the foremost disciple among the bhikkhus who observe the Dhutanga, or austere practices. Wedeha was inspired and wished to be like Mahanisapa in a future life. After the end of the sermon, Wedeha waited for everyone to leave, and then said, "My Lord Buddha, I humbly request that you and all the bhikkhus and samaneras receive alms at my house tomorrow." "There are a lot of bhikkhus and samaneras." "How many, my lord?" 6,860,000. "Then I formally invite all of the bhikkhus and samaneras to my home tomorrow for alms." The Buddha remained silent, signaling his consent. Wedeha rushed home and prepared the offering. The next day, the Buddha and all his bhikkhus went to Wedeha's house and received alms. Wedeha, sitting next to the Buddha, looked outside and saw Mahanisapa walking for alms past Wedeha's house. Wedeha then got up and went to pay his respects to Mahanisapa. "Venerable Thera, please allow me to take your alms bowl." Mahanisapa gave Wedeha his bowl. "Venerable sir, I invite you to come inside my house and partake in a meal. Even the Buddha is inside." "That would not be appropriate, lay disciple." Wedeha then ran inside and filled the elder's bowl with delectable food and brought it to offer to Mahanisapa. The Thera accepted it and walked away. Wedeha then went back to the Buddha's side. "My Lord Buddha, just now I asked the Venerable Mahanisapa to come inside for a meal, and even let him know you were here. Yet he did not come in. Is he of a higher standing than even you?" Buddhas do not have jealousy within their minds, nor feel threatened that the good standing of others will diminish their own. Lay disciple, I'm currently receiving alms in a householder's home, but Mahanisapa is not receiving alms as I am. I reside in the city, while Mahanisapa only resides in the forest. I reside under a roof. Mahanisapa only resides under the open sky. These are the qualities of Mahanisapa. Wedeha was already impressed with Mahanisapa, but after listening to the Buddha's explanation, he felt as if his heart was fire that was already burning, but had been doused with gasoline. He no longer desired anything in the world apart from being just like Mahanisapa. Wedeha aspired to be the foremost Bhikkhu disciple of a future Buddha in Dhutanga practice. Wedeha invited the Buddha and all his monks again for 7 consecutive days. After the 7th day, he offered robes to all the monks. At the end of his dana, he bowed at the feet of the Buddha and said, "As I have offered alms, donations, and gifts to the Buddha and the Sangha for 7 days, I wish for nothing in return except the opportunity to become the foremost Bhikkhu disciple of a future Buddha in the Dhutanga practice just like Mahanisapa. May my wish come to fruition." The Buddha then used his perfect knowledge to peer into the far-off future to see if Uedeha's aspiration would ever come to fruition. Your aspiration will come to fruition in the future dispensation of the Buddha named Gautama. This will occur 100,000 kalpas in the future. You will be his third-ranked disciple with the name of Mahakassapa. Uedeha, hearing the Buddha's prophecy, was beyond elated. He knew that a Buddha's words were always true, and that if the Buddha had prophesied it, it was sure to come to pass. For the rest of that life, Uedeha gave dana, observed the sila, and after his death, was reborn in the Dewa heavens. In the era of the Vipassi Buddha, 91 kalpas ago, Uedeha was reborn from his life in the Dewa heavens into a family of Brahmins. When he was older, he married a Brahmin woman. They were very poor and only owned one outer robe. Because of that, he was known as the Eksataka Brahmin, or the Brahmin with only one robe. When there was a meeting of the Brahmins, he would order his wife to stay home, and he would take his outer robe and attend the meeting. When there was a meeting of the female Brahmins, he would have to stay home, and his wife would take the outer robe and attend the meeting. In the era of the Vipassi Buddha, the Buddha would only expound the Dhamma once every 7 years. When the Eksataka Brahmin was made aware of this, he asked his wife, "Wife, do you want to listen to the Dhamma during the day or at night?" "It is not appropriate for women to be out at night in the dark, so I will go listen to the Dhamma during the day." The wife then took the one outer robe and went with the other women to go listen to the Buddha's marvelous sermon. After the sermon, she returned and gave the robe to her husband. The Eksataka Brahmin then went to listen to the evening sermon. He sat in the back of the large room and listened intently to the Buddha's beautiful words. As he listened, he felt piti, or exhilaration, fill his body during the first portion of the night. He pulled off his outer robe and thought to offer the robe to the exalted Buddha. However, as soon as he thought that, doubt and hesitation crept into his mind. How can I offer this robe? I only have one, and if I offer it, what will I have left? It would be irresponsible to offer this robe. My wife and I only have one. If I offer it, how can either of us leave the house? No, I can't offer this robe. It is a bad idea. In the middle portion of the night, the Eksataka Brahmin felt piti overtake him again, and felt the urge to offer his only belonging to the Buddha. However, the same thoughts of doubt and hesitation overtook him, and he didn't make the offering. During the last portion of the night, before the Buddha was going to end his sermon, the Eksataka Brahmin felt piti once again and wanted to offer his only possession to the Buddha. This time, as the thoughts of doubt crept into his mind, he strongly thought, "Whatever will happen, will happen. We'll deal with that when it comes." He took off his robe and laid it at the feet of the great sage. He stood up in the middle of everyone and clapped his hands 3 times and exclaimed, "I have conquered! I have conquered! I have conquered!" At that time, the king was sitting behind a veiled curtain listening to the Dhamma. When he heard the Brahmin's exclamation, he sent a servant to find out why the Brahmin said what he had said. When asked, the Brahmin said, "When others hope to conquer an enemy or an army, they have to ride in on an elephant or a horse. They have to equip weapons. Then they have to battle with an enemy in order to conquer them. Yet that victory is nothing compared to my victory. I have conquered my greed and hesitancy, and offered my only belonging, my outer robe, to the great Buddha. This victory over myself is the greatest victory one can achieve." The servant then relayed this answer to the king, and the king was greatly impressed. The Brahmin was able to give his most precious belonging to the great Buddha. This Brahmin was able to do what was appropriate and wise, while we just sat here. He is truly amazing. The king then sent his servant to give 2 valuable new outer robes to the Brahmin. When he received the robes, the Brahmin thought, "If I had done nothing, the king would have given me nothing. On my own merits, the king would have given me nothing. However, after I professed the greatness of the Lord Buddha, the king has given me 2 new robes. What benefit will these robes give me when they are earned on the great virtues of another? These robes should thereby be given to the Buddha." He then offered the new robes to the Buddha. When the king found out, he ordered 4 robes be given to the Brahmin. The Brahmin then offered the robes to the Buddha. The king then ordered 8 robes be given to the Brahmin, which the Brahmin then offered to the Buddha. This continued until the king offered 32 robes to the Brahmin. If I continue to offer all these robes to the Buddha, it would seem like I am only doing this to gain more robes from the king. I must respect his wishes and accept his donation. The Brahmin then kept 2 robes, one for himself and one for his wife, and offered the 30 remaining robes to the Buddha. After that night, the Brahmin became a close disciple and supporter of the Buddha, and often came to visit the Buddha. One day, the king was listening to the Dhamma and decided to give the Brahmin an expensive red cloth worth thousands of crores. He instructed the Brahmin to wear this fine red cloth whenever he came to listen to the Dhamma. What benefit would this fine cloth have for a filthy body such as my own? The Brahmin then had the fine cloth made as an awning above the Buddha's resting area. Many days later, when the king was visiting the Buddha and waiting for him to come out of his resting area, the Buddha let out his aura, which illuminated the red cloth hanging above his resting area. The king saw the fine red cloth and recognized it immediately. "My Lord Buddha, who offered you that fine red cloth above your resting area, sir? I recognize it as the one I gave to the Eksataka Brahmin." "King, you gave the fine cloth to the Brahmin because you thought he was worthy of your respect and generosity. The Brahmin gave that fine cloth to me because he thought that a Buddha was worthy of his respect and generosity." Wow! Once again, the Brahmin knew what to do and what was appropriate, while I, a king, did not. He truly is a marvelous person. And with that, the king gave the Eksataka Brahmin 8 of every necessity a person needed, and gave this to the Brahmin 8 times. The king also appointed the Ikshatra Brahmin as an official advisor. The king gave me 8 of every item 8 times. That is 64. The Brahmin then set up 64 locations for almsgiving for bhikkhus, and gave charity and observed the sila, morality, for the rest of his life. After that life, the Ikshatra Brahmin was reborn in heaven. Following a lifetime in heaven, he was reborn in a wealthy family in Benares during a period of time between the Kona Kamana Buddha and the Kassapa Buddha. He was married when he came of age. One day, as he was out for a walk, he met a Panchika Buddha who was sewing his bottom robe. However, the Panchika Buddha did not have enough cloth to finish the mend, and therefore began putting away the unfinished robe. "Sir, why are you putting away that unfinished robe?" "I do not have cloth to finish the mend." "Sir, please use my cloth to finish your mend." After offering his valuable cloth to the Panchika Buddha, the young man made an aspiration. "With the merit generated by my actions here today, may I never encounter deterioration in anywhere that I live." After that, the Panchika Buddha followed the young man home to receive alms. At home, the young man's wife and sister were fighting. The younger sister made an offering to the Panchika Buddha and said, "May the merits of my actions lead me to being at least 100 yochanas away from this terrible and disgusting person." The man's wife was standing on the upper floor and heard this. She thought, "If this monk eats her food, then her wish might come true. This monk must not eat the food that this woman has offered." The wife then came running down the stairs and snatched the alms bowl from the Panchika Buddha and poured all the alms out. She then filled the bowl with discarded rice husks. The younger sister saw this and was disgusted by the wife's actions. "You evil, wretched woman! Yell at me! Attack me! Abuse me! What you did to that great being who dedicated himself for at least 2 asankayas is deplorable! How could you take his bowl and fill it with trash? Where is your sense of shame?" Hearing this, the wife realized the depravity of what she had done. She immediately ran ahead of the Panchika Buddha and threw herself at his feet. "Venerable sir, please wait. Please forgive this foolish wretch of a human. I lost my mindfulness. Please allow me to take your bowl." She gently took the Panchika Buddha's bowl and poured out the husks. She then washed the bowl. She then used perfume and pleasing scents to coat the bowl. She then filled the bowl with 4 types of pleasing foods. She then gently placed the bowl in the hands of the Panchika Buddha. "May the merits of my good action lead me to having a body that is as immaculate and unblemished as the alms food I've offered." After the Panchika Buddha expressed his anumodana, he flew away up into the air. After the end of their natural lives, the husband and wife died and were reborn in heaven. After heaven, during the era of the Gazapat Buddha, the husband was reborn as the son of a wealthy family in Benares, worth over 80 crores. As for the wife, she was also born as the daughter of a wealthy family. When they both came of age, the young woman was brought to the young man's family in order to facilitate a marriage. However, due to the power of the Kama she committed against Apancheka Buddha, every time she was sent to her husband's family, her entire body would begin to emit an odor that was comparable to an open toilet.
Ooh, where's the smell coming from?
After he found out the smell was coming from the woman, he had her sent back to her family. The young woman was sent back and forth between her family home and her husband's home 7 times. After the Gazapat Buddha entered the final Parinibbana, the faithful disciples erected a golden stupa to commemorate him. Each golden brick was worth 100,000 money.
I've been sent back and forth 7 times. What's the value of my life?
She had all her jewelry and valuables melted down into a brick of gold. She brought the golden brick, flowers, and other valuable adornments with her to the stupa. It just so happened that when she arrived, the builders were 1 brick short. "Sir, please use my humble golden brick to bridge the connection that you are missing."
My lady, you've come at an auspicious time. Please, place the brick yourself.
The wife then mixed oil and the precious materials she brought with her, and used that as the mortar to hold her golden brick. She then placed many valuable flowers on top of the golden brick, as an offering to the majesty of the Gazapat Buddha. "May the power of the merits I've made here today lead me to have a fragrant and aromatic body, and may my breath smell perfumed." She then paid her respects and went home. At that moment, the young man was thinking about the young woman, so he asked his servant,
There's a festival starting soon. I want my wife to come join me. Go fetch her.
And so, the servant went to the young woman's family home.
My lady, my lord requests your presence to join him at the festival.
I've donated all my valuables and have nothing to wear or adorn myself with.
My lord has said he will provide you with everything you need. Please come with me.
As they approached the young man's house, the fragrant and aromatic smells from the woman's body spread far and wide. "How is it that you smelled horrendous before, but now you smell very pleasing?" The young wife then told her husband what she had done. The husband was astounded. "Wow, all this from just worshipping at the stupa of a great Buddha. How blessed must the Buddha himself be, if merely his stupa is this auspicious." The husband then skipped the festival and brought his wife over to the stupa. There, they gave many grand offerings, including valuable cloths measuring over a yojana in length. After he had lived a full life, the husband died and was reborn in heaven. In his next rebirth, the husband was born as the son of a fairly well-off family. His wife was reborn as the daughter of the king of Benares. One day, the young man wanted to attend a festival.
Mother, please give me our finest cloth so that I can attend the festival.
Here, my son.
Mother, this cloth's quality is not fine enough. Please give me something better.
Son, this is our best. We do not have anything better.
If that is so, I will take my leave and find a place where I can get finer cloth.
If I could wish it so, I would wish for you to own all of Benares today. Good luck, my son. And so, the young man made his way to Benares. Once he got there, he was tired and laid down to rest on a stone slab in the king's garden. What the young man didn't know was that the king of Benares had died 7 days prior. The king had no male heirs, and the advisors could not agree on whom to appoint. The advisors decided to rely on fate, and so they made an offering to the gods and prayed.
May the royal carriage be allowed to run free, and may it stop in front of our next king.
The horses ran until they encountered the young man sleeping on the stone slab.
You have been chosen to be our next king. Where is the current king? He has passed away. What about his children? He only had one daughter. Then I will accept.
The young man was appointed as the new king and married the king's daughter. As one of his wedding presents, he was given a valuable fine cloth worth 100,000 crores.
What is this? This is a piece of our finest cloth, Your Majesty. This cloth is not fine enough. Is there no cloth that is finer? My lord, in all the world, there is no cloth that is finer than this. That is unacceptable. I will find a way to acquire cloth finer than this. Bring me a golden water receptacle.
The king then washed his hands and rinsed his mouth. He took the water into his hands and threw it to the east. Instantly, 8 wishing trees began to grow. He did this in all of the cardinal directions, and in total, 32 wishing trees began to fully sprout. The king wished for the finest cloth in all the world, and his wish was granted. He used one to clothe himself, and another one to cover his shoulders. Then he stepped into the carriage and headed back to the palace and was officially crowned. Many years later, the queen observed all the royal possessions and said, "Husband, you are the king of the world and own all that can be owned. You must have created great merit in the past with great Buddhas. That is why you have so much abundance in this life. However, in this life, you've created no great merit that will yield great fruit in a future life."
With whom would you have me create merit? I have not encountered any moral beings.
My lord, I believe that there must be arahants in our world. If you prepare suitable offerings, I will find a way to bring them here. The king had great offerings prepared and placed them in front of the eastern gate. The queen woke up early and undertook the Uposatha Sila. She then made her way to the top of the eastern tower faced the east, and made an Adhitthana. If there are any Arahants in this direction, may they please come to our palace and receive our offerings, so that we may generate wholesome merit. Unfortunately, there were no Arahants in that direction. The offerings were then distributed amongst the poor and destitute. The next day, the king prepared new offerings and had them sent to the southern gate. The queen climbed the southern tower and faced south and made her aspiration. However, there were no Arahants in that direction. The next day, the king prepared new offerings and had them sent to the western gate. The queen climbed the western tower and faced west and made her aspiration. However, there were no Arahants in that direction. Finally, the king had offerings prepared and placed them in front of the northern gate. The queen climbed the northern tower and faced north and made her aspiration. Panchakaburas are self-awakened Arahants who do not teach or create a religion. The Paruma Panchakabura, who was the brother of 500 Panchakaburas, was residing in the Himalaya mountains to the north. He invited his brothers to accept the queen's invitation. They all flew to the northern gate and landed gracefully where the offerings were prepared. The king was informed.
My king, 500 Panchakaburas have arrived at the northern gate.
The king was ecstatic and rushed to the northern gate along with the queen. There, they made grand offerings to all the Panchakaburas. Afterwards, they invited the Panchakaburas into the royal garden, and the king and queen bowed at their feet and said, "O precious beings, lights of the world, may we be so humble to request that you reside in our royal garden for the remainder of our lives, so that we may have the opportunity to continuously make great merit that will lead to benefit in this life and our future rebirths." The Panchakaburas accepted their invitation, and the garden was converted to a proper residence for them. Many years later, there was some unrest in the outskirts of the kingdom. The king set out with the army to quell the unrest, and asked the queen to continue to look after the Panchakaburas. The next day, without anyone's knowledge, all the Panchakaburas peacefully entered final Nibbana. That morning, the queen woke up early and began to prepare the daily flowers and offerings for the Panchakaburas. When she saw that they had not arrived at the usual time, she sent servants to invite them. And that is when they learned of the Panchakaburas' passings. The queen saw to the funeral arrangements and had grand stupas built to house the relics of the Panchakaburas. When the king returned from quelling the unrest, the first thing he did was ask the queen about the well-being of the Panchakaburas.
What is this? Even Panchakaburas are not free from death. Then what about normal beings like us?
The king did not enter the city and went straight to the royal garden. There, he had his oldest son summoned and gave the kingdom to him. The king shaved his head and ordained, and lived the rest of his life in the royal garden as an ascetic. The queen also shaved her head and lived as an ascetic in the royal garden until the end of her life. At the end of their lives, both the king and queen were reborn in the Brahma realm. Mahakassapa Thera originally dedicated himself to following 3 Dhutanga, or austere practices for life. 1. He only used refuse cloth, which are robes made from discarded cloth that no longer has an owner. He would not accept offerings of robes from anyone. He would cut, sew, patch, and dye his own robes. 2. He would only eat food that he received from Bindabad, or alms rounds. He would not accept any invitations for meals. 3. He only resided in the forest. He would not live near a house or home, and only live in the uninhabited forest. After a while, when his will and fortitude were stronger, Mahakassapa added an additional 10 Dhutanga practices to his lifelong dedication. 4. He only used one set of 3 robes: an upper robe, inner robe, and outer robe. He would not have spare or backup robes. He would not wear any cloth rather than those 3. 5. He only went for Bindabad in sequential order. He would not omit any house while going for alms. He would visit houses in a row and not skip a house or pick a house he favored. He would approach each house in the row sequentially until he received adequate Bindabad. He would not allow himself to go to a specific house based on desire. 6. He would only eat 1 meal a day. Once he sat down to eat, that would begin his only meal of the day. If he got up at any time, he considered his meal to be over. He would not eat anything else for the rest of the day. 7. He would only eat from his alms bowl and not off of plates or dishes. 8. He would not accept food once he had already sat down to eat. If supporters were to offer additional food after he sat down, he would refuse it. 9. He would only reside under a tree and not under the shelter of a roof. 10. He would only reside under an open sky and not under a roof. The only exception would be during the rainy season. 11. He would periodically spend the night in or near charnel fields, graveyards, or cremation grounds. 12. He would only reside in places that people set up for him. He would not pick and choose according to his desires. 13. He would only reside in 3 of the 4 postures: sitting, standing, and walking. He would never lay down. Because of his steadfast fortitude in adhering to the 13 Dhutanga practices, the Buddha appointed Mahakassapa Thera as the foremost monk in upholding them. In order for the Buddha to appoint someone as the foremost of a particular category, one of 4 conditions had to be met. 1. An event or situation occurs that warrants an appointment of foremost. 2. The person had accumulated merit in that area throughout many past lives, and also set the intention to attain this position. 3. The person was a specialist or expert in that particular matter. 4. the person had great merit, that is, being superior to all others who have the same ability. The Venerable Mahakassapa Thera met all 4 of these criteria. Just as was predicted by the Padumuttara Buddha, Mahakassapa Thera was the 3rd ranking monk behind Sariputta and Moggallana. However, in practice, since Sariputta and Moggallana both died before the Buddha, and Mahakassapa outlived the Buddha, many people saw Mahakassapa as the de facto leader, or father of the Sangha, and one of the most integral people in Buddhism. On one occasion, Mahakassapa asked the Buddha, "What is the reason that formerly there were fewer rules, but more monks were arahants, while now there are more rules, but fewer monks are arahants?" So it happens, Kassapa, when beings deteriorate and the true Dhamma vanishes, then there are more rules and fewer arahants. However, there will be no vanishing of the true Dhamma until a false Dhamma arises in the world. But when a false Dhamma arises in the world, there will be more rules and fewer arahants. But Kassapa, it is not due to a cataclysm of the 4 elements that makes the Dhamma disappear, nor is the reason for its disappearance similar to the overloading of a ship that causes it to sink. It is rather the presence of 5 detrimental attitudes that causes the obscuration and disappearance of the Dhamma. These are the 5. 1. Lack of respect and regard for the Buddha. 2. Lack of respect and regard for the Dhamma. 3. Lack of respect and regard for the Sangha. 4. Lack of respect and regard for the training. 5. Lack of respect and regard for meditative concentration. But as long as there is respect and regard for these 5 things, on the part of the monks, nuns, and male and female lay disciples, the Dhamma will remain free of obscuration and will not disappear. On another occasion, the Buddha asked Mahakassapa about why he followed the Dhutanga practices. "I have 2 reasons why I live by the Dhutanga practices. One is for my own well-being, here and now. The second is for the benefit of later generations, which, upon hearing about such a life, would emulate it." This is well spoken, Kassapa. Well spoken. You have lived for the happiness of many, out of compassion for the world, for the benefit and welfare of gods and men. You may continue to keep your coarse rag robes, go out for alms, and live in the forest. On another occasion, the Buddha used Mahakassapa as an example to teach the other monks. "This is our Kassapa. He is satisfied with whatever robes, alms food, lodging, and medicine he obtains. For the sake of these, he will not do anything that is unbefitting for a monk. If he does not obtain any of these requisites, he is not perturbed or bothered. When he obtains them, he makes use of them without clinging or infatuation, not committing any fault, being aware of the possible dangers, and knowing them as an escape from bodily affliction. Monks, by the example of Kassapa, or by one who is equal to him, I will encourage you. Thus, when admonished, you should practice in the same way." The Buddha also mentioned Mahakassapa as an exemplary example of how monks should interact with the laity. When going amongst the laity, Mahakassapa did not think wishfully that people may give amply in things of quality, that they may give quickly and respectfully. He had no such thoughts, but remained detached, like the moon that sheds its mild light from a distance. When Kassapa goes among families, his mind is not attached, not caught up, not chained. He rather thinks, "Let those who want to gain acquire gain. Let those who want merit do merit." He is pleased and glad at the gains of others, just as he is pleased and glad at his own gains. Such a monk is fit to go among families. When he teaches the Dhamma, he will not do so for the sake of personal recognition and praise, but for letting them know the teachings of the Blessed One, so that those who hear it may accept it and practice accordingly. He will preach because of the excellence of the Dhamma and out of compassion and sympathy. One day, Mahakassapa was residing at the Pipali cave after having gone to Rajagaha for alms. After having his meal, he sat down and a thought occurred to him. He wanted to know, using his supernormal vision, where each being that had already died would be reborn. The Buddha, from his monastery in Chetavana, saw with his divine vision what Mahakassapa was doing. The Buddha knew that Mahakassapa would not be successful in his endeavor and wanted to warn him to avoid this path. The Buddha sent forth his radiance and appeared seated before Mahakassapa and said, "My son Kassapa, the number of births and deaths of beings is innumerable and cannot be counted. Your abilities are not sufficient to determine this. Only Buddhas have the ability to discern this. Give it up. Do not attempt this any further." Mahakassapa accepted the Buddha's instruction without argument and did not attempt to discern this any longer. On one occasion, Sariputta asked Mahakassapa, "It has been said, friend Kassapa, that without enthusiasm to practice and without the fear of wrongdoing, one is incapable of gaining enlightenment, incapable of attaining Nibbana, incapable of attaining the highest security. However, if one had enthusiasm to practice and the fear of wrongdoing, one is capable of such attainments. Now, to what extent is he capable or incapable of such attainments?" Friend Sariputta, when a monk thinks these four things and does not strive to generate enthusiasm for practice and fear of wrongdoing, he will be incapable of such attainments. When a monk thinks, "If bad and unwholesome states that have so far not arisen in me were to arise, this would bring me harm." When a monk thinks, "If bad and unwholesome states that have arisen now in me are not abandoned, this would bring me harm." When a monk thinks, "If unarisen wholesome states were not to arise, this would bring me harm." When a monk thinks, "If arisen wholesome states were to vanish, this would bring me harm." If a monk thinks any of these things, and if he were to not arouse enthusiasm to practice and a fear of wrongdoing, he would be incapable of such attainments. However, if a monk thinks these things and arouses enthusiasm to practice and a fear of wrongdoing, he is capable of attaining enlightenment, capable of attaining Nibbana, capable of the highest attainment. On another occasion, Sariputta asked Mahakassapa, "Friend Kassapa, does the Blessed One, the Tathagata, the Buddha exist after death? Or does he not exist? Or does he both exist and not exist? Or does he neither exist nor not exist?"
This has not been declared by the Exalted One.
Why not?
It is of no benefit and does not belong to the fundamentals of the holy life, because it does not lead to turning away from the worldly life, nor to dispassion, cessation, inner peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, and nibbana.
But what, dear friend, did the Exalted One declare?
This is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the way to the cessation of suffering. This is what the Blessed One has declared. Why? Because it conduces to benefit and belongs to the fundamentals of the holy life, and because it leads to turning away from the worldly life, to dispassion, cessation, inner peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, and nibbana.
On one occasion, Ananda asked Mahakassapa to go with him to teach the Bhikkhunis. Mahakassapa refused, and Ananda asked him 2 more times. Mahakassapa finally consented to go and gave a discourse to the Bhikkhunis. However, things didn't turn out as Ananda had expected. One of the Bhikkhunis, by the name of Thuladisa, raised her voice to make a rather offensive remark. "How can the revered Kassapa presume to speak the Dhamma in the presence of the revered Ananda, the learned sage? This is as if a needle peddler wanted to sell a needle to the needle maker." This Bhikkhuni preferred the gentle preaching style of Ananda over Kassapa's stern and sometimes critical approach. She was sensitive to being criticized since it touched on her own weaknesses. This caused her to lash out and act foolishly. When Mahakassapa, who was an arahant, heard the remarks, he asked Ananda, who was a Sotapanna,
"How is it, friend Ananda? Am I the needle peddler, and you are the needle maker? Or am I the needle maker, and you are the needle peddler?"
"Be indulgent, venerable sir.
She is a foolish woman." "Beware, friend Ananda, or else the Sangha further examines you for wrongdoing. How is it, friend Ananda? Was it you to whom the Exalted One referred to in the presence of the Sangha by saying, 'Monks, I can attain the 4 jhanas, the cessation of perception and feeling, and the 6 supernormal knowledges at will, and Ananda too can as well?'
That is not so, venerable sir."
"Or did he say Kassapa can as well?"
Mahakassapa did not think Ananda fully understood the gravity of the situation, and felt Ananda's conciliatory reply was inadequate, and did not do full justice to the situation. Ananda had always been a favorite with women, since he had given his strong support to the founding of the Bhikkhuni Sangha. Eventually, the Bhikkhuni Thuladisa left the order. On another occasion, Ananda took a large company of 30 monks with him on a walking tour in the southern hills. Most of the monks were young and soon disrobed and returned to the home life. After the tour, Ananda went to see the Venerable Mahakassapa. After saluting him, he sat down.
"What is the reason the Blessed One had said only 3 monks should take their alms meal among families?"
Ananda, who had perfect recollection, said,
"There are 3 reasons, venerable sir. It is for restraining ill-behaved persons, for the well-being of good monks,
and out of consideration for the lay families. Then, friend Ananda, why do you go on tour with these young, newly ordained monks whose senses are unrestrained, who are not moderate in eating, and not given to watchfulness? It seems like you behave like one who is trampling the corn. It seems you destroy the faith of families. Your following is breaking up. Your new starters are falling away. This youngster truly does not know his own measure. Gray hairs are now on my head, Venerable Sir, and yet we still cannot escape being called youngster by the Venerable Mahakassapa. But the Venerable Mahakassapa repeated again the very same words he had spoken. Later, after she heard about what Mahakassapa had said to Ananda, a bhikkhuni named Tulananda said,
Kassapa has no right to criticize a wise monk like Ananda. Kassapa himself had formerly been an ascetic of another school.
Tulananda had diverted the matter of monastic discipline and practice into personal detraction. In addition, she was wrong in her accusation. Eventually, Tulananda soon left the order, just as the other wayward bhikkhuni, Tulatisa, had done. Later, when Mahakassapa heard Tulananda's utterance, he said to Ananda, "Rash and thoughtless are the words spoken by Tulananda. Since I have left the home life, I have had no other teacher than the Exalted One, the Holy One, the perfectly enlightened One." In another instance, Mahakassapa was residing at the Pipali cave. There, he entered a deep meditation that lasted 7 days. At the end of that period, he decided to go on alms rounds. He contemplated about who would receive the most benefit from giving him alms, and decided to visit a faithful woman who was a poor rice farmer. The poor woman only had parched rice, but was eager to offer it to the elder. When the elder accepted her alms, she was ecstatic. After he left, she gathered the rest of her harvest and began walking home. Along the way, she was bitten by a snake, and as she was dying, she reflected on her offering. She was immediately reborn as a Dewa in the Tawatimsa heaven, in the midst of great splendor. This Dewa reflected upon how she now had all this grandeur and felt gratitude to the great Bhikkhu. She descended to earth before dawn and swept the area around the elder's dwelling, removed trash, and filled the water vessels. After which, she returned to heaven. She did this for 3 days. Mahakassapa heard the sounds and noticed the cleanliness, but he assumed that the junior monks or novices were doing their duty towards him. However, on the 3rd morning, Mahakassapa came out and saw a female Dewa with a radiant light sweeping in front of his dwelling. He questioned her and found out who she was and why she was supporting him. "Dewa, you should not do this. In the future, bhikkhus will use this as a discussion topic and say, 'Mahakassapa has a female Dewa serving him.' This would not be conducive to maintaining the faith of the faithful." "My lord, I wish to serve you and show gratitude. Everything I have now is due to my offering to you. In order to prolong my stay in heaven, I must continue to make merit with you." "What you have already done we shall consider done, but going forward, you are not to do this again." Rebuked by Mahakassapa, the Dewa rose into the air, filled with great sadness. There, she floated with folded hands, crying incessantly. The Buddha heard the Dewa's wails with his divine ear, and he appeared to her. Do not feel sadness over the admonitions of my son, Mahakassapa. It is his job and duty to practice restraint and to think about the future of the Sangha and the religion. As for merit making, it is the job for those who still desire merit. If one makes merit, they should do it often. They should be happy in their merit. Making merit definitely leads to sukha, which means joy or bliss, both in this life and in future rebirths. The Buddha then gave her a suitable Dhamma sermon, and at the end, the Dewa became a Sotapanna. In another instance, Mahakassapa, while living at the Pipali cave, had entered a period of 7 days uninterrupted deep meditation. At the end of that period, he went to Rajagaha on alms rounds. He knew that anyone who offered alms to a bhikkhu who had just exited deep concentration would receive tremendous merit, often yielding immediate results. 500 female Dewas gathered celestial alms and approached the elder, asking for his favor in accepting their alms. It is not appropriate to accept your alms at this moment. I wish to bestow this opportunity to the poor, so that they could benefit from their meritorious deeds. No matter how they begged and pleaded, Mahakassapa would not yield to their entreaties. The Dewas returned to heaven, and when Saka, the king of the gods, found out, he too wished to take advantage of this great merit-making opportunity. To avoid being refused, Saka transformed himself into a poor old weaver. When Mahakassapa approached, the poor weaver offered rice to him. At the moment the rice was accepted, it turned into exceedingly fragrant rice. Mahakassapa immediately recognized the deception and realized who this old weaver truly was. You've done a grievous wrong, Kosiya. You've deprived poor people the chance to acquire merit. Do not ever do such a thing again. But revered Kassapa, we too are in need of merit. Dear respected Kassapa, please tell me, have I acquired merit or not by giving alms to you through deception? You have gained merit, friend. Saka, overjoyed, exclaimed exuberantly, Almsgiving! The highest almsgiving has been bestowed on Kassapa. And with that, he ascended back to heaven. Only 2 of the 5 most prominent disciples were present at the Buddha's passing, Ananda and Anuruddha. At that time, Mahakassapa, accompanied by a large contingent of monks, was on the road going from Pawa to Kusinara. During that journey, they stopped for a rest under a tree. Just then, an ascetic walked by. The ascetic was carrying a Mantarava flower, which is said to only grow in the celestial world. When Mahakassapa saw this, he knew that something unusual must have happened for that flower to be found on earth. He asked the ascetic and was told, The recluse Gautama passed into Nibbana 1 week ago. I picked this Mandarava flower up from the place of his cremation. The monks who heard that message broke down into tears and were inconsolable. The monks lamented.
It was too soon. The Blessed One has passed into Nibbana, never to come back again. The light of the world has left it. What will we do without a Buddha? Alas, if only we had more time with him.
Only the Arahants did not lose control and remained composed and calm. However, one monk named Supata, who had ordained in his old age, said,
Monks, brothers, do not grieve, do not lament. This is a good thing. With the Buddha gone, all his rules and regulations will be gone too. No more will someone tell us, you must do this, you must not do that. Now we can do what we like, and we won't have to do what we do not like.
Mahakassapa then brought the entire group of monks to go see the remains of the Buddha. Until that moment, it had not been possible to set the funeral pyre alight, as the Dewas present wanted to wait until Mahakassapa had come to pay his last homage to the remains of the master. When Mahakassapa arrived at the place of cremation, he reverently, with clasped hands, walked around the pyre twice, and then bowed at the feet of the Tathagata. He said, Lord Buddha, the great savior, we will follow in your steps. When he finished, the pyre burst into flames by itself. As the Buddha's body burned, the multitudes of people, Dewas, Nagas, and all other spirits all over the 3 worlds cried. After the cremation, the Buddha's remains left beautiful Arahant relics. However, this caused a large fight regarding the distribution of the relics. It got to the point that people were willing to go to war and fight for them. Mahakassapa observed this, but did not intervene. It was a respected Brahmin named Dona who finally divided the relics into 8 portions and distributed them among the 8 claimants. The Venerable Mahakassapa himself brought a share of the relics to King Ajatasattu of Magadha. After this task was done, Mahakassapa turned his attention to the preservation of the Buddha's spiritual heritage, the Dhamma and the Vinaya. Mahakassapa proposed holding a Sankhayana, a council by which the Dhamma and Vinaya could be reliably established and secured. He selected 500 monks, all but one of whom were Arahants. The only selected member who was not an Arahant was Ananda. Ananda was chosen because he had been the closest to the Buddha and excelled in remembering a large number of his discourses. Just in time for the council, Ananda dedicated himself and became an Arahant. And so, 90 days after the Buddha's death, the texts of the monastic discipline were recited by the Venerable Upali at the council, who was a Vinaya expert. The second item was the codification of the Dhamma laid down in discourses. Here, Ananda recited all those texts, which were later compiled into the 5 collections of the Sutta Pitaka. Finally, some special matters concerning the Sangha were discussed. Among them, Ananda mentioned that the Buddha, shortly before death, had permitted the abolition of minor rules. When Ananda was asked whether he had inquired of the Buddha what constituted a minor rule, he had to admit that he had not done so. As such, Mahakassapa suggested that the rules should be preserved intact without exception, and so it was decided. After the first Sankhayana, Mahakassapa was highly revered, and he was seen as the de facto head of the Sangha. At that time, he was the oldest living disciple of the Buddha. However, later on, the Venerable Mahakassapa handed over the Buddha's alms bowl to Ananda as a symbol of continuing the faithful preservation of the Dhamma. Mahakassapa lived for a very long time. As of the first Sankhayana, he was 120 years old. As his final day arrived, Mahakassapa traveled to the Kukutagiri mountains. There, he made his Atitana. When I reach the end of my body's time and enter Nibbana, may these three mountains combine into one and contain my body. May my body wait for the coming of the Maitreya Buddha, and may he dissolve it in the palm of his right hand. He made this aspiration due to karma created in the past. A long time ago, the Bodhisattva was born as a king that loved collecting rare elephants. One day, he was riding his prized royal white elephant into the royal pleasure garden. When the elephant caught the scent of a female elephant's droppings, the white elephant was immediately overcome by must and became aggressive and violent. The royal white elephant threw the elephant trainer off his back and rampaged through the garden looking for the female elephant. The king, maintaining his mindfulness, used his bullhook to balance himself. The king even used his sword to stab into the elephant's back, trying to get it to calm down. However, nothing the king did was able to get the elephant's mind out of its must. The elephant's sensual desires overwhelmed all its senses and sensibilities. The king realized that there was nothing he could do to regain control of the elephant, so he grabbed a passing branch and swung down from the elephant's back. The elephant ran wildly into the forest in search of a female. Later, the king's soldiers found him and brought him back to the palace. The king summoned the royal mahout in order to punish him for poorly training the royal white elephant.
Your poor training of the royal elephant almost took my life, and now my royal elephant is gone.
My lord, it was not my poor training of the elephant that caused this, but rather the overbearing power of sensual desire that caused the elephant's actions. Once the elephant's desires subside or are satisfied, the elephant will return on its own within 7 days. As for the royal elephant, it indeed returned to the palace on the 7th day after satisfying its urges. The king, excited to have his elephant back, went to go see it. There, he saw that the elephant was docile, obedient, and well-behaved.
Mahout, it looks as if you've trained the elephant well. Then why is it that 7 days ago, even with the bullhook or my stabbing it with my sword, the elephant refused all orders and commands?
My lord, I will show you. The Mahout then used his special abilities to command the elephant to grab a heated piece of metal with his trunk. The metal burned the elephant and caused it much pain. However, owing to the Mahout's abilities, the elephant was not able to put the metal down. The king could see the elephant's pain and was scared that it would die. He then ordered the Mahout to release the elephant from his control. After the Mahout released him, the elephant immediately dropped the metal piece. So it seems that sensual desires are more powerful than your mystical ability to control the elephant. You are powerful enough to compel the elephant to hold on to something dangerous and harmful. But even such power pales in comparison to the influence of sensual desires. The king was disgusted with how sensual desires control almost everyone's lives, and wished to be free from them. He gave up his riches and kingdom and became an ascetic. The elephant was a past life of the Venerable Mahakassapa. The Mahout was a past life of the Maitreya Buddha, the next Buddha. The king was a past life of the Gautama Buddha, our current Buddha. Owing to the past karma from that life, Mahakassapa made the aspiration to have his body last until the time of the Maitreya Buddha, and for the Maitreya Buddha to cremate him on the Buddha's right hand. In the distant future, in the time of the Maitreya Buddha, the Buddha will go to the Kukutagiri mountains, where the body of the Venerable Mahakassapa is located. The Maitreya Buddha will spread out his right hand and place the body of Mahakassapa on it. Then, he will say, "May all of you see, this is the body of the older brother of the Tathagata. He was an elder disciple of the Gautama Buddha. His name was Arya Mahakassapa Thera. He astutely observed the Dhutanga practices." After much more praise, fire will suddenly engulf the body of the Venerable Mahakassapa and cremate it upon the hand of the Buddha. And thus, the story of Mahakassapa would come to an end. What did you learn from this story? Let us know in the comments. We hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you did, and click subscribe if you want to see our uploads. And consider making a donation to support our Buddhist animation project.